hello there. Found myself a nice little spot in my front yard where we can enjoy the hydrangeas. I've got my kitty right in front of me. Nice lighting. It's gorgeous weather, possibly too gorgeous because we're in fire zone, but it is really a lovely day. And the last weekend I spent in San Francisco with my daughter, and we came back through Spokane and found one of the most delightful flavors of the bubbly world, orange cream bubbly. Have you tried this? This is so good. I love it. And I thought, why don't we talk about routines? And the reason, of course, is as you saw, someone had asked about how to create an effective routine. So straight up, if I'm having a conversation with somebody one-to-one either in our support group on Patreon or in one-on-one coaching, then I am going to ask so many more questions about how to create a routine or helping you to create a routine than just declaring how I would do it. Because how I would do it is not necessarily how you would do it. In fact, it might not be valuable at all to you, some of the things that I suggest. And also, I have learned by coaching other homeschool moms that how we do things just doesn't feel quite right if we approach things in the same way. So you might think of yourself as an early bird in the day. You like to get up early, and I don't. Actually, I do. I'm up early, like 5, and that's all female hormones at the stage of my life, I think, because when I was in my earlier homeschool days, the kids sometimes woke me up and would ask, hey, Mom, here's a cup of coffee. You want to do homeschooling? Because I was so sleep deprived. I've had different seasons of my homeschool, just like you have. I don't know where you're at in your homeschool season or in your homeschool journey. You have different reasons to want to do different things in your life. I have different reasons. And then it turns out we have children who also have different goals. So what your routine would be like compared to my routine might be very different. So take this all with a grain of salt. These are some ideas, some, I would say, values that undergird how I approach my life. And so these values may not be yours, but if you're here listening this far, you might be curious. So I'm going to share with you some of the values that undergird how I choose a routine, both for my homeschool and for my life. So I wrote a few things down. I've written a few posts on my website, capturingthecharmedlife.com, about creating a routine. One of them is about creating a routine, not a schedule. There's a reason people talk about it. In essence, our goal is to create a life out of our homeschool days. It isn't about checking off to-do list or a bunch of boxes in your day timer. It sure can be. We can do that. We can all do that. We can spend our lives trying to feel productive and meaningful because various institutions or perhaps people in our lives declare that there is a certain way to live. And we must do certain things in order to be a productive human being. And it's cool if you think that it's a valuable thing. I certainly think being productive is useful, but I think that our culture generally overvalues productivity to the detriment of living a life. And we certainly can pass that on to our kids. I know that was definitely my tendency to create that private school at home because for various reasons that had nothing to do with, am I really living my life on purpose? And am I enjoying this homeschool journey? And am I just here to be curious and learn and play and create memories with my family? Yes, of course I wanted that, but that didn't really show up in the way I was doing things. That's one of the values that I would say I aspire to, is to create a routine, not a schedule, because my goal is not to create productivity in my home or to encourage my kids to be productive for the sake of being productive. My goal is to be living my life on purpose. Oftentimes that includes productivity. So the questions that I would ask you before we get started in a discussion on creating routines would be, what do you want for your life? Big question. It can change over time, but it's worth asking. What do you want for your life? How do you want to feel? What do you want to leave? But do you hope your kids will know when they leave your home? What do you want for your family? How do you want to contribute to your community and to your world? What experiences would you like in your life? What experiences do you want in your homeschool? I would take those questions, write them down, spend some time in journal, either journaling or in conversation with me. You're welcome to connect with me. The call is free. I'm here to support you. You're welcome to connect with me one-on-one in that discussion. Those are big questions, wouldn't you agree? They are big questions. But I think we need to ask the big questions so we can clarify the minutia of our life. Early on in my homeschool journey, I was doing all the subject areas, like all of them. I was trying to cover everything. So you name a subject area, I'm pretty sure I was trying to do it. It was a very interesting education that I received. It was a very well-rounded, self-directed education that I received by trying to create this home education in my a private school, essentially, in my home. And I know that my kids learn lots too. I just know that long-term, it wasn't the best choice. My kids are hella smart, and that is what a mother says, but they are. And they have parents that are academically focused and always have been. So that was the focus of our home. And so we came by doing these discussion areas naturally, even though I wasn't academic up until the end of high school. It was my husband's. This homeschool thing has been remarkable for my education. And one of the things I quickly learned is that there's certain subject areas that seemed moot, like they just didn't seem necessary. And one of them was vocabulary, and another was learning about the grammatical pieces or parts of a sentence. It seemed unnecessary, given that I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. And I didn't appreciate that you would have to teach children in, say, early elementary years, the different parts of a sentence. What value was there in learning what the different parts of the sentence were? It didn't make sense to me as I was homeschooling my kids that I was focusing so much energy and time on sentence diagramming and parts of speech just to label them, because I wasn't going to consult my grammar textbook in order to write a sentence or to write a blog post or to write an article, anything. So it didn't make sense to me that we were spending time doing that. But I did it because other people were doing it. And so there must be something I'm missing. Surely it has value because other people have declared it so. I still don't think there's that much value in it. Unless you're reading a specific New York Times bestseller book called Eat, Shoots, and Leaves that is actually, and I know this is hard to believe, a very entertaining book about grammar. Otherwise, I still don't see the value of teaching your children parts of a sentence. If you disagree, that's totally cool. See, we always do different things for different reasons. But for me, I didn't see the value in it. So I looked at various things that I was doing in my homeschool, including that one, and asking myself, do I want to invest time doing something that I don't understand why I'm doing it? And the answer will always be no. And I'm not going to do it because other people want me to do it because they think it's valuable. No, not a good enough reason. I am spending time doing something on my homeschool to-do list because other people think it's important. Not a reason to include something in your routine. So, food for thought. What do you want for your homeschooled kids' education? Have you written it down? Have you decided, got really clear what you think is important for your kids' education? As it turns out, you get to decide. You're homeschooling. We have that freedom and we should use it. And it will directly influence our routine, what we are going to do in the day. So here are some of the things that I've valued over the years, what we've done in our routine. I haven't done all these things right from the beginning. So if you're new to homeschooling, just know that I am at the end of my homeschool journey this year. I've homeschooled 4 kids for less than 24 years. And everything that I've learned over the course of time did not happen overnight. It was just like distilling of all the things that I came to understand were valuable and important. And one of the most important things that I've learned that we need to include in our routine is morning time alone, some form of morning routine. Now, hear me out. If you have kids that are young and maybe you're sleeping with them during the night and there is no other way that you're getting sleep, or if you have little kids that are immediately at your bedside before your eyes are open, or you spent all night nursing a baby or feeding a baby, or all the various possibilities. I feel for you. That is a hard phase of mothering in that it is physically exhausting. And I remember that as though it were yesterday because it is that tiring. And even for you, a morning routine, just let me reiterate over and over until you have the space and the time to include a morning routine, that it is still important. And yet I also know that I didn't and wouldn't have done it at that stage. So I'll just keep it as a back of your mind reminder that this is a valuable tool for you. And for the rest of us who aren't sleep deprived on a routine basis, a morning routine is a place that you can start your day listening to you first. Or if you're someone that has a relationship with God, then your relationship and listening to God. So listening to you before you listen to the kids. It is like a grounding technique, helping you to just feel at ease, maybe slide in to your regular life, to feel like you are just taking a breath before the day begins. In my morning routine, I've done various things over the course of time. I love now, especially as I'm entering the middle-aged years. Okay, I might have done that 10 years ago. But now that I'm entering the perimenopausal years, a different form of sleeplessness, by the way. I know we women are so lucky, aren't we? So we transition into sometimes middle of the night wakings because of our hormones. But so that's where I'm at right now. And I've learned that waking up in the morning and starting with yoga or stretching, if we want to call it that, and meditation, just being still, praying, but praying with stillness is an amazing way to start your day, just being with you. Just taking a few breaths, feeling your body, getting a strong sense of how did I wake up this morning? What's going on inside of me? Even before I see my kids. That has been a really useful tool. Another one is journaling. No surprise there. I'm sure you're not surprised because I have designed, I think, 6 journals of varying topics for homeschool moms. I highly advocate for journaling because you're essentially putting all the things that are going on in here on paper and helping yourself clarify what's going on in here. Some of us are not natural writers, though, and some of us don't like processing that way. But if you are amenable or like able to do that, get a piece of paper, get a journal. You can find my journals on my website under capturingthecharmedlife.com. But if you grab a piece of paper, create a space designed just for you to just lay out the things that are going on in here, it'll help you clarify whatever challenges you have or whatever things you need to do for the day, or just to ground yourself and to feel at ease as you begin your day. The other thing that I think the very first thing that I ever offered in the homeschool community is a daily affirmation list. MyThoughtCoach.com offered affirmations, daily affirmations for moms. And I use that for my own homeschool mama daily affirmations. I genuinely, even to this day, appreciate these affirmations because they call me into framing my world, understanding my world differently, seeing my relationships with a viewpoint differently. It helps me to feel accepted that my experience as a homeschool mom, the varying experiences that we have, are normal and validated. And so even me having written these daily affirmations, when I return to them and I read 1 or 2 of those affirmations in front of the mirror, we speak truths to ourselves and remind ourselves of the universality of this homeschool mom experience, that maybe we're not always doing things perfectly, but we are indeed doing things good enough. We're showing up in our homes as nurturing mothers to our children and to ourselves. We are living our lives on purpose and helping our kids do the same. learning how to engage our big emotions, care about other people's big emotions, learn stuff and use the stuff that we learn to become the people we were meant to be on this planet and contribute the way that we were meant to contribute. All of those things, when we speak truths to ourselves each morning, we are serving. We're really serving the world, I think, but we are certainly serving our space as a homeschool mom. If it is only us that once a day says kind, loving words to ourselves, then it needs to be us. And so I encourage us each to use daily affirmations each morning in front of your mirror as part of your morning routine. And morning routine also helps you just know where are you at, addressing your needs before you have to address the kids' needs. When we're not addressing our needs on the regular, which in my experience as a mom who has transitioned into coaching moms, that is a common refrain. You're unusual if you're regularly meeting your needs. Though the typical is to address your kids' needs, or at least think that you're addressing them, and not address your own needs. So start your day by listening to yourself and asking yourself, what do I need today? Before you get chatting or connecting and addressing your kids' needs. I think it's valuable to teach these concepts to your kids. So for me, one thing that I did in my routine was also to include a morning routine with the kids. And of course, in the high school, teenage years, it was a little bit different because they were, I don't know, sleeping in more, going to bed later. They had shifts the night before, they're working, or different youth events or friend events. There was so much more going on. It was a little bit more like they were independent in my home. It was a very different experience than having younger kids and all of us doing things together. I was just chatting with a mom this morning about how we're both moving out of that golden years phase of homeschooling. I have been for years now. And it's not got the same quality. And it's sad actually to say goodbye to those years. That might partly be why I love still staying in this space, because this homeschool thing, I know that some days are hard. Like, really, I know that they're hard, not just because I've had my own, but because I'm listening to you as well. I know that some days are like so hard. You want them on the bus so fast. Just let's be done with this. And then some days you're like, seriously, I don't even know how to be a mother, let alone a homeschool mother. So if that's you, we're with you. There is a whole world of mothers that may not have said those words that are with you and know that experience. But those golden years of homeschooling, on the days that everything goes right, it is an amazing experience. So many memories, so much fun. You learn so much. It's a very interesting world, and it shifts. It's a little different when they move into those teenage years, become more independent, or at least try to be more independent if you allow them. But when they're younger, creating a morning routine with the kids, actually spending time with them, essentially leading them into some of the practices that you're already doing for your own morning, is going to set a precedence for them to know how to do life. So if you are someone that has a faith that wants to create a practice with your kids in how to engage God, or in whatever form you would speak that to, then do that with your kids. Probably you're already doing that. But what about if you're not? Consider trying a loving kindness meditation. Instead of a prayer to God, a loving kindness meditation is something you can find on YouTube free. It helps you to speak love, to feel love toward those in the world, towards your family, towards your friends, towards yourself. And I think a practice like that, of working or creating a practice where you are teaching your children how to do these loving, kind things toward others and orienting yourself towards showing that to others, I think that's super useful, even if it's just 1 minute or 2 minutes. And if they're super little kids, you could also allow them to play with Legos or their basket of creative things while you're listening to this. For me, a morning routine always included a read aloud. This absolute first thing that I felt like I missed when my homeschool year started shifting into more independent teenagers is having that time on the sofa when we were all sitting around and reading books together. That is so beautiful. I cannot get rid of all my books. I'm keeping them for the grandkids. but also having a basket of activities for you that you are interested in learning. For me, I liked learning about art history and classical music, so I always included some form of art history or classical music history in my basket. And sometimes we would do different things on YouTube, a short video on something that I was interested in that I wanted to share with the kids. I would create that as a practice, especially in the golden years of homeschooling. I would create that as a practice so that the kids get familiar with you pulling out things that you love to do with them. When you start to do this when they're younger, it's much easier to say, hey, let's go do this when they're older. Can I hear an amen from the moms of teenagers? This stuff starts early. Whatever routines we create when they're younger will be easier to maintain later. Of course, when we talk about routines, we're going to talk about what we actually do with our studies. Now, I'm aware that I'm speaking to various moms of various homeschool methods. So if you are of the unschool self-directed learning bent, if you are full focused in that direction, then you can just ignore this next 1 minute. Because when it comes to studies, if you aren't doing a self-directed focus or an unschooled focus and you do want to create a routine, I think the phrase less is more always applies. Boy, I wouldn't have wanted to listen to that in my early years. I thought more was definitely more. 8 to 4 sounded like a great time for us to create activities all day long, except for a half an hour lunch. Yes, I did it that long. And I had 3 read alouds in the day. And that is probably all you need to hear. More is not more. Kids don't learn more just because you put more in front of them. In fact, sometimes kids, even if you are telling yourself, I would never do that. I would never do 8 to 4. That is crazy town. I know that wouldn't work. I wouldn't want to do that. But I'm having a hard time even keeping my kid at the table for 15 minutes doing something. So the thing is, sometimes that's because they may be too young to be engaging whatever it is you would like to have them engage or learn, or you're wanting to help them finish something because somebody else has decided that this element of their education is really important. And I will be like straight up with you. I don't think it's that important. Almost never do I think it's that important, even if it's in the last 6 months before they graduate high school. If you want to talk more with me about that at some point, we'll gladly tell you why. Also, it's not just that they're not always available to something. Sometimes it's because the family culture is not really focused in that direction. Your values aren't really in learning something. It's more about getting something done. And when someone feels like they have a taskmaster that's requiring them to do something that they don't want to do, no human being wants to participate in that. And you don't either. We don't either. So the way that we administer something, how we engage it, it matters. I think Charlotte Mason said it best when she said something like, we create our homeschooling is an atmosphere and not just a, can you fill in the blank there? Add that in the comments if you can remember that quote. But the home education, the homeschool is really an atmosphere. And we set the precedent. And if we're taskmasters, nobody's going to enjoy it. So the question isn't so much how to make yourself not be a taskmaster. In my opinion, the question is, why do you feel compelled to be the taskmaster? What's compelling your drive? Because like I've had that storyline too. And then I had to ask myself, why? Why was I doing that? What was the purpose? What was I hoping to accomplish? It certainly didn't feel good. It didn't feel good to me. And it certainly obviously did not feel good to them. So that's a question. And then the other question is, what's your relationship like in general? What's going on in your home? How do things feel? How do the kids feel? Have you asked them how they feel? Have you asked them what their opinions are on what they're doing? It matters. I wouldn't have thought so in the beginning. I would have thought, yeah, but these are the things that need to get done. We're going to do them. Let's go. That's how I approach things. And then I learned that's the same approach that happened in the school, right? It didn't work there either. So why am I thinking it's going to work at home? It doesn't usually, unless you have that child that loves the stuff. Because you're always going to, hopefully, you have just one child who just loves how you do homeschool. It's so much more gratifying when at least one says, you know what, I just love this day timer. This is amazing. Get me some more colored markers and help me organize it all? And can I have more activities? Can you test me? Can you grade me? I had one of those. That made it fun, although I was flummoxed because at that point I was unschooling, so I was confused. Should I make her unschool? Anyways, still the answer is no. The other thing I would include in a routine is outdoor time. So in my own experience, like I did want to homestead about 10 years into my homeschool, and now I'm doing it, and it's dirty, and it's divine being outside all the time, having animals and learning about the natural world and all of the things. It is so healing. And I'm a big proponent of your kids go outside. This is what we do for a little bit of the day. Somehow, some way, it's a value for us because it's so healing. It's a place of peace and quiet, assuming that you're in a nature zone and not smack right next door to an apartment building filled with, I don't know, lots of noise. So if you can find a nature zone to connect with your kids, go for a walk around the block, anything, just go outside. And on that same thought, I would encourage you to make it a family atmosphere of exercising. There are gym curriculums out there. I don't understand really why they exist, but maybe that's partly because I'm just not naturally a sports person. But I do think that we can find a way to be active in varying activities that interest us. And for the goal of teaching our kids that it's important to be physically active. But as moms, it's so amazing to, even if you've got an elliptical or you've got an exercise bike inside, or you've got an exercise video on YouTube like Pop Sugar or something. My teenagers have told me about this one and I've tried it a few times. When you burn off steam, when you exercise and you get a real heavy sweat and you're really working out hard, you're burning off tension. You're burning off the extra emotions that you've had in your homeschool day. You want that. If you grew up in the era that I did, where it seemed like everyone had some eating disorder, we didn't call it that then. We called it Jane Fonda's workout video, or we called it, oh, I don't know. There were so many diets, and I know there's still many diets, but there were so many diets. And if you were female, you were expected to be on one, and you had an exercise regimen. And if you grew up in that era, I just want to encourage you that I am not encouraging you to go back to that energy. I'm encouraging you to serve your brain by burning off tension when you exercise, because for sure you need it if you are regularly living alongside children. And if you're a homeschool mom, that's you. The other thing that I would encourage you to do in your routine is to think fun. Even if you're not good with this, because I sure wasn't for a very long time. I was really good at the daytimer, and I was really good at the private school, and really good at researching and finding things that were interesting, things that I didn't understand. I was really good at figuring out how to teach things I didn't know or to learn about things I've never heard about before. But fun was not it. And so I gradually included fun times. I included fun Fridays and focused an entire morning to activities that were fun. And I asked myself, how could we learn X, but also have fun doing it? So we created games. And we also played a lot of games and still do. And we invested time. Certain seasons of the year are just more dreary here. So then we would create certain documentary seasons where we'd spend much more time doing documentaries. Or there were seasons where we would do musical theater. And so when we were doing those 4 months of musical theater as a family, we wouldn't try to fill in the gaps of the time we spent doing the theater practices by going home at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and then doing our homeschool studies. No, that theater was our studies. Or there's so many things that you could do. And I'll just maybe ask you, instead of giving you ideas, what could you be doing right now that would be fun with your kids? Doesn't even have to be educational, just fun. Because if you've been challenged in your homeschool with an energy or an atmosphere that is not what you want, if you try to create a different energy and you say, I won't get angry with my kids, I won't feel flustered, I won't whatever. You won't do X. You'll do it. You'll be focusing on the thing that you don't want to do, and you will do it. So instead, decide, what do you want to do? You want to have fun. Just saying it. I'll declare it for you. You want to have fun with your kids. So even if that means from 3 to 3:15 every day, you are going to set aside time with whoever wants to hang out with you and do something fun for the pure joy of the thing. Hey, what do you want to do? I got 15 minutes. Do you want to go jump on the trampoline? Do you want me to watch your Minecraft thing or teach me about the Minecraft thing? What do you want to do? And do it just for the pure sake of having fun. It won't take you long to discover that fun is addictive. And there's a reason that people want to do fun stuff. And it is even more fun when you're creating those memories with your kids. So create fun moments, create it as part of your routine. You're not cleaning anything. I know I played Barbies with my kids like this. I organized their accessories. That is what I did when I was having fun. And then later on, I learned that my kids didn't think it was an awful lot of fun that I was organizing their Barbie shoes and their Barbie outfits, that actually fun would have been to officiate weddings or whatever other things they were doing with their Barbies and all the other toys that they played with. So really getting in there and just saying 15 minutes, I'm going to have fun, which leads into the other thing that I would encourage you to do in your routines. And it is to get eyeball to eyeball time with each of your kids. That means to spend time with each of your kids in a way that makes them feel like you are fully present. So maybe that's your fun time, but sometimes it's not. So I just want to reiterate this concept of your relationship with your child. It is part of that atmosphere that you're creating in your home. And it is the most important thing, and it's a thing that will continue on indefinitely. You will always be a mother. They just won't always live in your home. And so the atmosphere you're creating here is the one you're going to be having later when they're no longer with you. So eyeball to eyeball time is your most important time of the day. I got to mention, you have to have time for chores. But can I just say, from my vantage point, chores will always be with you. So create a routine so that the social worker doesn't have to get called about the uncleanly nature of your home. But really, once a week, it's good. If you really want to do once a day cleaning up everything, great, you go, girl. I know I tired out of it after a while. I just wanted to put stuff in a basket and then say, kids, bring it upstairs or bring it downstairs. And then once a week, we'd clean together. Create a chore list for all of you, or agree on chores, however you do it, but do it like once a week. Don't do it every day so that the house is perfect, because I'm 25 years into this family thing, and it turns out it's going to be dirty for a while. And your dishes will get broken for a while too. But it's not going to be perfect. Just create a plan so that you don't actually feel like you're losing your mind as you are going about your life. Because I have heard it repeatedly from moms that this connection between an untidy, unclean house and your level of peace, it's directly connected. But you can also teach yourself to say, you know what? It's clean enough. The social worker has not called. You're welcome. The last thing I want to say is that you want to create time in your week, or depending on the relationship in your day, to nurture the most important relationships you have. So if that's a partnered relationship, if that's your best friend, if that's your relationship with your mom, if that's a relationship with a variety of people in the community, whatever it is, keep building into that, because as they say, your greatest happiness is actually found in building community. The happiest people are those that are in community. And you're also, by the way, invited to the Patreon Homeschool Mama support group, where we actually get to chat one-on-one and build authentic relationships that are also supportive. So if you're interested in doing that, there's a whole bunch more that you can access when you're part of the Patreon support group. But one of the most important things is developing relationships with other people that are in the same space as you, that probably, if you've stuck around me long enough, have similar values as you. I remember when one mom joined the group, she said, you attract really lovely people. And I agree. I do. Last thing I want to say. If you want to create a routine that feels effective for you this year, whether you're new, whether you're not new to homeschooling, but you just want it to work for you more, consider time blocking. Spend a week writing down every single thing you do. Yeah, really, everything. It'll be a lot for that week, but it will be so useful to clarify what you're actually spending your time doing and whether you want to spend your time doing it. Time block. Figure out what you're doing, write it down for a week, and then a week from now, look at the things that you're doing and say, do I even want to spend this much time on Instagram, TikTok, whatever? Or maybe, yes, I do, because I'm connecting with other people like you, because that is actually me. I get to spend time with people on Instagram that I would never meet in my own backyard. And how do you know? Because this is my backyard. Is there a chance that there are going to be a whole bunch of people from around the world coming to hang out with me here? No, there will not be. So maybe that's your important value, is to connect with people from around the world. Great. But maybe there's time spent on things, social media or whatever. Any area of your life can be a waste of time if you're not doing it on purpose. So time block, figure out how you want to spend your time, then decide how you want to spend that time, what you want to spend your time on, and write it down in the time audit that I have. If you're interested in it, I can give you a link to that, and then help you clarify what you actually want to spend your time on and practice using that routine and seeing if it actually works for you. This is your way. You can build a homeschool life on purpose. If you have any other ideas that you'd love to contribute, because there will be other people reading or watching this, then add your thoughts or your comments in the comment section down below. And I hope you have a really great week. We'll talk to you soon.